I low-key think we all kind of forgot about Rell for a while, but even with the game taking an eternity to release and the Rell developers being quiet as hell, like damn near being church masters when it comes to the game, it's actually improved. I've actually seen a lot of stuff and I can tell that this game is getting even better than it was before, and it could justify the extremely long wait that the Roblox community has had for this game. So the big question is, has Rell got better? And I think the answer is yes, because a couple days ago we actually got some more information on Rell and it says here in the Discord server that they've entered the ocean testing phase of Rell and it's one of the most important phases of the game when it comes to the in-game progression, and they're spending the entire month going through all the issues that it might have when they eventually release the game. So this is actually kind of interesting, because them saying that they're going to spend a whole month testing for this part of the game, that kind of does confirm my theory that this game could either come out either late July or maybe early August. I feel like if they're going through the entirety of June to test out this part of the game, then who knows how many other parts of the game that might still need some work. But apart from that, this underwater part of the game sounds really interesting, because like most One Piece games don't really focus on underwater. It's mainly based on the islands, you know. It's low-key funny how you rarely see One Piece games really focus on the underwater part of the games. If you play Blox Fruits Grand Prix Online, it's always been based on what's going on the islands, but it's never really based on what's going on underwater, because like the sea is a big part of One Piece, but you rarely actually see games take advantage of that and implement more sea-based gameplay. They kind of use the seas more like traversal in their games, you know, for the boats and stuff like that, rather than using it as like an advantage and using it for missions and just different parts of the game you can use it as. It's kind of just used as like traversal and that's it. So I do think Rell is doing something really smart here and using it more as like for missions, progression, all sorts of different stuff they're probably going to use it for. So that is something that to watch out for when the game does come out, because the fact that taking a month for it means that it's something real serious when it comes to this game. Like they're really going to add a lot of stuff underwater, which is something that isn't, like I said, isn't really spoken on at all. Like most games treat like underwater as like the forbidden part of One Piece games. For whatever reason, they don't really take it that seriously. So I think Rell is taking a great advantage of this here and putting it in their game where other games fail to do it, and they can obviously use that as an advantage to make their game even better than it was initially. Now, in terms of what I think the ocean-based progression might look like, I think Fishman Island is going to be in the underwater progression, because obviously Fishman Island is a big part of One Piece as well in that arc. So I think they're going to include Fishman Island as like a part of the progression. Maybe like have a boss there like Holy Jones as part of like a boss underwater. That could be interesting as well. Obviously there's gonna be fishing as well. We already saw that as well. Fishing might be a part of it, because I think they're gonna like include a bunch of different bosses like as underwater threats in the game. So I do think like maybe Arlong might be there, Holy Jones might be there, and there's also the submarines as well. So the submarines might play a part in how you get down to Fishman Island. So there low-key is a lot of ways that the submarine could possibly be used in the game. But you know, with them saying they're going to take a whole month to test this out, I don't know what they could include in this. They could include a bunch of different stuff, because it said here that it directly correlates into progression. So the amount of content they could add into the underwater part of this game sounds hella crazy. You could argue that them doing this much could actually justify why the game's taking so long, because they ain't playing around when it comes to the content of Rell. They want to add as much as possible, which I have said before that I don't really agree with them adding so much content into the game before it releases, because they could just run out of ideas when it comes to the game. But I do think they probably won't add that much when the game actually comes out, which I hope they actually do. They don't add too much, so they have enough to update the game over time. You know, the game seems to be doing really well in terms of what we've seen so far. Like what we've seen in terms of the progression, especially with them moving to the next phases of progression now. Now it's going from probably the island-based progression to now the ocean-based testing progression part of the game. We're likely going to see even more improvements when it comes to Rell. And speaking of improvements as well, graphics for Rell have just drastically improved over time as well. The graphics just keep getting more and more better, because initially the graphics used to look kind of flat, it used to look kind of bland and kind of basic in a sense, but now the shading's better, you know, the overall designs are better, 3D clothing's better as well. So they've actually gone out of their way to improve most of the shading issues the game had. The game had a lot of shading issues because the shading was kind of just mid. I feel like when you looked at the game, it felt like it didn't put a lot of effort when it came to shading. If you watch the movies, like the shading wasn't great, but now you can kind of see with a lot of the models in the game now, the improved shading makes the models stand out a lot more. It looks a lot more detailed than what it looked like beforehand, which is a great thing, right? And it shows that they're actually going back and trying to clean up the game and make it significantly better than what it was 2-3 years ago, which is a very positive sign for the game that is actually improving and getting better over time, rather rather than just stagnating, which I feel like this year especially, a lot of Roblox games just keep stagnating, and that's why this year has been so dry for Roblox. Like, this year has been one of the driest years we've ever seen in Roblox, like ever. So, you know, games are getting worse rather than, you know, getting better, and I feel like I'm glad that Rell is one of those games that just continues to get better over time rather than, you know, just getting worse, which it shouldn't have to get worse because it's taking a lot of time anyways. But regardless, the game is just going to be good anyway. So, you know, I'd like to hear what you guys think, man, because I do think that Rell, like I said, it should be out between mid or maybe late July to, you know, early August. I feel like that's a great time to release the game, I think. But you guys can comment down below what you think. Has Rell actually got better, and can the game actually release this year, or has Rell got worse, and do you think that the game might not release this year? And with that being said, peace.